Heavenly Father, help me. In Jesus' name. Amen. I had 4 wisdom teeth removed 2 days ago, so I'm not having a whole lot of ease in speaking tonight, so just bear with me. I want to thank you all for praying for me while I was fasting. I have some dreams from that time period that I want to share with you. Most specifically, I want to share something about public schools that I believe I saw. The first portion, I was walking a young girl to class, and I said, "Which class are you in?" The school was busy, it was packed. I said, "Whose class are you in?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm going to Miss Shelley's class." And we walk up to the door. I open the door, and immediately I put my hand in front of this little girl to keep her from entering, because what I see in the room makes me go, "Whoa, wait." Inside of the schoolroom, I see children's belongings in closed clear plastic bags sitting in individual colorful trays. So each belonging in a clear plastic bag sitting in its own plastic tray of different colors down the short tables that young kids sit at, the tables that are in a school setting for elementary school. And all of the children are sitting behind their belongings, their chair, then their belongings, all the way down the line. And there is a group of uniformed people, all different kinds of people wearing black uniforms, and I remember some sort of white pinstriping on them. And they were examining and testing the children's belongings with these powders and with these things. And I remember thinking, somebody in this classroom must have tested positive for COVID, for CV. That way they have gained, they're allowed to do this to the belongings because of that. And so that's why they're in this room testing. And I didn't want to let the little girl go in, but they're like, no, bring her in, because they were going to test her stuff also. But one specific person on this team of the uniformed people stood out. She was a young black woman with lots and lots of piercings in her face. And she was leaning over top of the belongings that they were testing, and she was using her nose to smell. She was like smelling intensely each belonging and each whatever that they were testing. And I just thought that was very strange. And that section of the dream ended. We'll come back to the interpretation of that in a minute. The next part was also in a school, but this time I was the child. I was a little girl. I was wearing a white dress that had pretty flower pattern on it. There was little to no food in the school. Most children didn't have food. And the little food that they had, most of the people there did not have the money to buy the food. I did not have money. However, I was called to the line and given a chicken leg or turkey leg or something. It was like a drumstick. And I got my drumstick, and in my dream I wrote down twice that I had in the dream more than one occasion where I had been given food, and then people had come against me for it. So this was the part that I remembered, even though I'd written down that it happened more than once in this dream experience. I had the chicken leg, and I remember this big kid. He was like a big bully, and he was like sandy blonde hair, and he was much bigger than me. And he's like, "Hey, give me your chicken leg." And I'm like, "No, you can't have my chicken leg." And he begins to follow me. I'm evading him through the kids getting down, and I go down concrete steps into the basement of this school, and I curl and hide up underneath those stacks of plastic chairs that you find in elementary school, like those stackable chairs. I crawled underneath of those with my chicken leg in hand, hiding from him. And I remember I could hear him breathing, but I was tucked away under there, and that was where that part of the dream ended too. And I think it's important to note that I don't have nightmares. Even in dreams where I'm experiencing scary things, ever since 2 years ago. I should do a video on that. Two-ish years ago, I had a dream where basically it was a big spiritual attack dream, and when I woke up, I was totally delivered from fear, just entirely. I've not had a scary dream since, with the exception of things that are like urgent, or like I'll wake up and I wasn't afraid in the dream, but I know waking as I write it down that's scary stuff. So I wasn't frightened in the dream, but when I awoke, I knew that me in the dream, the little girl, was of course running from this bully. The first part of the dream, the important message is that I believe in the name of CV and the thing that's going on right now with that, that when the schools are allowed to reopen, there is some sort of group of people that's going to be organized and put together that are going to have a brand new, unprecedented level of access to these children that otherwise they have never been able to have before. And they're going to do it under the name of CV, and what it is. They're going to use that as like, oh, this is the reason. But the testing that they're doing that's not what they're testing for. Like, they're using it under the guise, but that's not what this is about. This is about gaining access to our children somehow. And I don't know what the testing means. So I ask you to pray and take this to God also, and to pray for our public school systems, to pray for our children who are in them. Those of us who have children in them, I don't have my children in public school on purpose. That is a luxury that not everybody gets to have, and I totally understand that. Make sure that you're praying and asking God, where is it that you do want my kids? Homeschooling is an option for some. It's not an option for a lot of people. And also private schooling is an option for some, but not everybody. But just know that God loves your children even more than you do. So no matter where your children need to be, and where they are, God is protecting and covering them and sheltering them. So keep your eyes open for a potential testing of some sort, or ask if administration or whatever are asking permission for new protocols, including the testing of the belongings of your children or something like that. I would be very wary. I didn't like anything that was going on in that room, and I tried to keep the girl back from going in there. So I think there's something shady and untoward, ungood going on there. The second part of the dream, of course, obviously, is about food shortage. And not just food shortage, but monetary shortage to purchase the food. I knew that the other children around me didn't have money to buy the food, even if they had wanted to. I didn't purchase the turkey leg. I was given the turkey leg. Like, I don't, it's because we're children of God, and God provides for his kids. But bullying and violence, basically, towards people who will have provision from God. Just continue to be in prayer, interceding for those who might be or might become in harm's way because of the circumstances in the future. So I wanted to share those things. A quick little addition, a couple little things you should know from previous dreams. That dream was, I think, on May 8th. May 8th at 7 in the morning when I woke. And then I also had a dream on April 8th at almost 4 o'clock in the morning, with a prophetic word at the end about an animal crisis. There was something about water shortage, I believe, and then an animal crisis that I heard. Grocery carts. There was something about being able to, in order to get your grocery cart, you had to do something and get a receipt for it. Like, people had to verify something or pay for a grocery cart to be released or something, and you had a receipt in order to get your grocery cart to go into the grocery store. People were still masking. but I was given a grocery cart. I didn't have to put my thing in there. Somehow an employee brought me a grocery cart to help me, and they said that my visit would go well with me, that I would have a more favorable visit than others. I was going to stock up, and as I stood by the grocery carts, there was a family in my way, a woman with her 2 older children, and they were discussing an animal crisis. And I remember seeing a hen, like a brown chicken, in the dream. And I don't know if that has something to do with the culling of the animals they're talking about these days. Also, here's the word. I got Romans 8, chapter 8, verse 5. I wrote, people neglecting their children, people with hidden problems you'd never guess that will surface because of this situation, and you cannot remain faithful if you're living in fear. And that's important, y'all. I'll do a different video on the rest of that. But the other thing to remember was I woke up. It's one of those number things. So I woke up one morning at 6:23 in the morning, okay, with one number, and the number was 6723. So I woke up at 6:23 with the number 6723, and what I did was I took it to Strong's because I didn't find chapter and verse in the scripture that highlighted anything, and the number 6723, I believe in Hebrew, was drought. So I'm just sharing that with you. Like I said, it feels like pieces of a puzzle. And if you've got anything to share on the pieces of my puzzle, I would love to hear from you in the comments. I hope that you are all doing well, and may God bless and keep you.